It's summer in Arizona, and an actress arrives at the apartment of television star Bob Crane. Currently appearing in Dinner Theater, Crane has been hoping for his next big break, but now his career has been tragically cut short. His lifeless body is discovered in the blood-soaked room, with the star himself the victim of a murder that will haunt Hollywood for the next 40 years. Crane was born in 1928 and grew up in Stamford, Connecticut, located some 40 miles northeast of New York City. At just 11 years of age, he became a drummer, ultimately becoming a part of jazz and marching bands in high school. And Crane would also join two youth music programs to perform with both the Norwalk and Connecticut Symphony Orchestras. Then, after graduating, Crane spent a couple of years in the Connecticut Army National Guard before receiving an honorable discharge. During that time, he also married Anne, his teenage sweetheart, with that couple going on to have 3 kids. However, in 1950, Crane started on the career path that would come to define him. As a broadcaster on local radio in New York and Connecticut, Crane discovered a talent for entertaining. In 1956, he even began helming his own show on CBS Radio's major California station, KNX. However, the rising star was harboring ambitions to move into the acting game, and after a successful stint on the Donna Reed Show, opportunity came knocking. In 1965, CBS was looking for a star for its new series, Hogan's Heroes, a sitcom about the inmates of a German prisoner of war camp during World War II. And in the lead role of Colonel Robert E. Hogan, Crane was given an opportunity to win over television audiences across the country. Now Crane was well on his way to becoming a household name. Eventually, though, the darker side of his personality began to show. Not long after the show started, he embarked on a relationship with Cynthia Lynn, the beautiful blonde actress who portrayed Helga, the secretary of Hogan's nemesis, Colonel Klink. Apparently, Crane also had a passion for photography and enjoyed taking snaps of his mistress in a state of undress. However, Lynn later insisted that there was nothing sinister about the escapades. "Yes, he took some nude pictures of me," she told ABC News in October of 2018, "but it was nothing to be ashamed of. There was nothing kinky or weird about it." When the first season of Hogan's Heroes ended, Lynn moved on, but the equally stunning Patricia Olson, going by the name of Sigrid Valdis, took her place. And just as her character quickly fell into a relationship with Colonel Hogan, Crane and Valdis soon grew closer off-screen as well. Moreover, Crane's indiscretions weren't just limited to his time on set. Apparently, it was an open secret that there was a dark room in the actor's family home where he would process nude photographs of women. Crane was reportedly also obsessed with home videos and made a habit of filming the women whom he had sex with. And according to Crane's son Robert, Anne knew about her husband's extramarital affairs. Her patience over the cheating ultimately ran out, however, and in 1970 she and Crane divorced. Then, just 3 weeks afterwards, Crane wed Valdis in a ceremony on the set of Hogan's Heroes. By this point, though, the actor's appetites had allegedly begun to get out of hand. While Hogan's Heroes was being filmed, Crane met a video equipment sales manager named John Carpenter, and the pair going on to becoming drinking buddies. And given Crane's fame, it was never too difficult for the two to pick up women. It wasn't long either before they were using Carpenter's technical know-how to record themselves in the act. Then, in 1971, Hogan's Heroes came to an end, and over the following years, Crane took a couple of small roles in Disney movies and starred in his own program, The Bob Crane Show. However, the latter show was axed after only 13 episodes, and the actor's career subsequently began to veer downhill. Still keen to stay in showbiz, Crane chose therefore to turn to dinner theater. Crane had bought the rights to Beginner's Luck, a play focused around a man who's engaged in an affair. And by 1978, after runs in Florida and California, the show was playing at the Windmill Dinner Theater in Scottsdale, Arizona, with Crane himself in the lead role. Then on June 29, 1978, Victoria Ann Barry, an actress in the play, arrived at Crane's apartment in Winfield Place, Scottsdale, to run through the script. But moments later, she sprinted out shrieking. Inside, Barry had seen Crane's dead body sprawled on the bed, wearing only a pair of boxer shorts. Apparently, an electrical cord had been tied around Crane's neck, while 2 wounds on his head suggested he'd been struck with a heavy object. Gruesomely, the sheets were covered in blood, and pieces of what appeared to be human tissue could be seen flecked across the wall. However, the murder investigation was reportedly a disaster from the beginning. Without the resources to properly handle the case, the local police department made a number of errors, such as allowing the scene to become contaminated and interfering with the body. Nonetheless, investigators eventually zoned in on Carpenter as a potential suspect. Apparently, Carpenter had driven to Arizona to visit Crane just 4 days before the actor's body had been discovered, and when police investigated, they discovered traces of blood in the salesman's rental car. But even though the samples turned out to be type B, a match for Crane but not for Carpenter, the authorities decided that there wasn't enough evidence against Carpenter to press charges. Then, 12 years later, Jim Raines, a Scottsdale detective with experience in dealing with homicides, had the case reopened, and Raines subsequently uncovered an additional piece of evidence, a photograph showing what looked like brain tissue on the interior of Carpenter's rental vehicle. And even though the sample itself had long since disappeared, the photo was deemed to be enough to apprehend Carpenter on suspicion of murder. At Carpenter's trial in 1994, Crane's son Robert stated that his father had tried to end the two men's friendship shortly before the actor's death. It was later reported that the suspect was bisexual and he may have developed romantic feelings for Crane. Meanwhile, the prosecution suggested that the murder had been committed with a camera tripod, although the weapon was never found. Eventually, though, the jury decided there was insufficient evidence for a conviction, and so they found Carpenter not guilty. Over the years, various theories have been put forward about Crane's death. Did a disgruntled former lover do the deed? Or did the actor's widow, set to inherit his entire estate, decide to send her husband to an early grave? In 2016, John Hook, an Arizona TV anchor, set out to answer the question once and for all with a DNA test that he hoped would finally link Carpenter to the crime. However, the results were inconclusive, and the mystery of who killed Bob Crane remains unsolved.